The large room was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some had blue skin. Others had 4 arms. A few even floated above their seats. They all looked at the human man on stage. Tai-1 Kim stood tall as he clicked to the next image on his screen. A giant red dragon appeared, breathing fire over a small village. "And here we have another example of human mythology," Tai-1 said. His voice was clear and strong. The dragon, a creature that never existed, but that humans once truly believed in. The aliens in the room made sounds of amusement. Some clicked their teeth, others buzzed their wings. The sounds meant the same thing in any language: laughter. Tai-1 smiled. He was used to this reaction. As the top xenoanthropologist at the Galactic Academy of Sciences, he had given this talk many times. His work on human myths was very popular. Humans once believed that dragons stole gold, kidnapped women, and burned villages, he continued. They also believed in giants who lived in the clouds, tiny people who lived in the forest, and gods who controlled the weather. More alien laughter filled the room. While other species were developing faster than light travel, humans were still telling stories about magic and monsters, Tai-1 said. This shows how imagination can sometimes slow down scientific progress. An alien with green skin and 7 eyes raised one of its 3 hands. "Yes, Professor Vril," Tai-1 said. Did humans really believe they saw these creatures? The alien asked in a deep voice. Or were they just stories told for fun? Many humans truly believed they saw these beings, Tai-1 answered. They wrote about them in their holy books. They built temples to them. They even claimed to have physical evidence, though none was ever found. Tai-1 moved to the next slide. It showed a painting of a giant sea monster attacking a ship. The most interesting thing about human myths is how similar they are across different cultures, he said. Almost every human group had stories about dragons, giants, and powerful beings. This suggests that these myths came from common human fears and hopes, not from real experiences. The room was quiet now. The aliens were interested. Even those species that didn't get along were united in their fascination with human stories. Today, of course, we know better, Tai-1 said. There are no dragons or sea monsters or forest spirits. Humans created these myths to explain things they didn't understand. As humans learned more about science, they left these stories behind. Tai-1 ended his talk with a picture of humans and aliens working together on a space station. And now humans work alongside all of you as equals in our galactic community, he said. We have moved past our myths and embraced the real wonders of the universe. The aliens clapped, tapped, or vibrated their approval. The talk was over. As the room emptied, Tai-1 packed up his things. He felt good. His talks always went well. Aliens loved to hear about the silly things humans once believed. Professor Kim. Tai-1 looked up. A human man stood in front of him. He wore a simple black uniform with 5 silver stars on the collar. His face had a long scar from his left eye to his jaw. Yes, Tai-1 said. My name is Do-hyun Park, the man said. I enjoyed your talk. Tai-1 recognized the name right away. Everyone in the galaxy knew Do-hyun Park. He was the hero of the Battle of Proxima Centauri. His actions had saved millions of lives and helped end the galactic conflict. Thank you, Commander Park, Tai-1 said with a small bow. It's an honor to meet you. Do-hyun smiled, but his eyes were serious. I found your talk very interesting, but I think there's something you should know about human myths. Oh, Tai-1 raised an eyebrow. What's that? Do-hyun looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then he leaned closer to Tai-1. They're not myths, he said quietly, and I can prove it. Tai-1 stared at Do-hyun. Was the famous war hero joking? He had to be. Commander Park, with all respect, I studied human myths for 20 years, Tai-1 said. There is no evidence that dragons or giants ever existed. Do-hyun's face did not change. Would you be willing to hear me out? In private. Taiwan looked at his watch. He had another lecture in 2 hours. But this was Do-hyun Park, the hero who had saved the human fleet when all seemed lost. If he wanted to talk about dragons, Taiwan could spare some time. All right, Taiwan said. Where would you like to talk? My quarters are on level 7 of this station. We can talk there. As they walked through the space station, many aliens and humans stopped to look at Do-hyun. Some saluted. Others simply stared. The war hero nodded politely, but kept walking. Taiwan felt strange walking next to such a famous person. Do-hyun Park was in history books. Children played with action figures made to look like him. And now he was telling Taiwan that human myths were real. The door to Do-hyun's quarters slid open. Taiwan's eyes widened as he stepped inside. The room was filled with strange objects. A stone tablet with markings Taiwan had never seen. A jar that seemed to glow from within. A sword that looked ancient but somehow brand new at the same time. These are unusual decorations, Taiwan said. Not decorations, Do-hyun replied. Evidence. Do-hyun pointed to a small table with 2 chairs. They sat down, and Do-hyun pressed a button on his wrist device. The lights dimmed slightly. What I'm about to tell you might sound crazy, Do-hyun said, but I need you to listen with an open mind. Taiwan nodded, though he wasn't sure he could do that. He was a scientist. He believed in facts and evidence. Would you mind if I record our conversation? Do-hyun asked. What I have to say is important. It should be saved. Taiwan felt uneasy, but nodded again. Do-hyun pressed another button on his wrist device, and a small light began blinking. Let me start with a question, Do-hyun said. In your studies of human myths, have you ever wondered why so many different human cultures had stories about the same types of beings? It's because humans share the same fears and hopes, Taiwan answered quickly. All humans fear large predators, so they created dragons. All humans want to explain bad weather, so they created storm gods. Do-hyun shook his head. That's what I used to think too. But there's another explanation. What if humans all over the world saw the same things? Taiwan sighed. Commander Park, many cultures also believe the world was flat. That doesn't mean it is. True, Do-hyun said, but let me tell you why I believe differently now. Do-hyun rolled up his sleeve to show a strange mark on his arm. It looked like a burn, but the shape was too perfect, like a symbol or letter from a language Taiwan didn't know. Do you know what this is? Do-hyun asked. Taiwan shook his head. This mark appeared on my arm after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, Do-hyun said. After I saw something that wasn't supposed to exist. He stood up and walked to a small safe in the wall. He pressed his hand against it, and the door opened. From inside, he took out a small metal box. In here is proof that human myths are based on reality, Do-hyun said. But before I show you, I need to tell you my story. I need you to understand how I learned the truth. Do-hyun's eyes looked different now, older somehow, and full of secrets. It started when I was a child, he said. In a small village in Korea, my grandmother told me stories about mountain spirits and dragons. I thought they were just stories until one night when I was 10 years old. Taiwan found himself leaning forward, despite his skepticism. What happened that night? He asked. Do-hyun looked directly into Taiwan's eyes. That was the first time I saw a dragon, he said. And it was only the beginning. Taiwan tried to keep his face calm, but inside he felt confused. Either Commander Park was lying, or he truly believed he had seen something impossible. Please, tell me about this. Dragon, Taiwan said carefully. Do-hyun nodded and sat back in his chair. His eyes looked far away, as if he was seeing the past. I grew up in a small village near Sureksan Mountain, Do-hyun began. My parents worked long hours, so my grandmother watched me. Every night, she told me stories about the mountain spirits and the great dragons that lived in the deep lakes. He smiled at the memory. I loved those stories. My grandmother said our family had a special connection to the spirits. She said they had protected our family for many generations. I thought they were just nice stories to help me sleep. Do-hyun's face grew more serious. When I was 10, I went hiking in the mountains with some friends. A storm came suddenly. The rain was heavy, and we all ran in different directions. I got lost. Taiwan leaned forward despite himself. The war hero was a good storyteller. Night came. I was cold, wet, and scared. I found a small cave and hid there. I cried for hours, sure that I would die on that mountain. Do-hyun stood up and walked to a shelf. He picked up a small stone that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Then I saw eyes in the darkness outside the cave. They glowed green, like this stone. I thought it was a bear or a tiger. I was too scared to move. He put the stone down and turned to Taiwan. But it wasn't a bear. Something huge moved in the darkness. Something long and snake-like, but much bigger than any snake. Its scales shone like jade, even in the darkness. It had 4 short legs and a long body. Its head was large, with whiskers that moved like seaweed underwater. "An imuji," Taiwan said, naming the dragon-like creature from Korean mythology. "Yes," Do-hyun said, looking surprised. "Exactly that. But not a myth. Real. As real as you and me." Taiwan stayed silent. He wanted to hear the rest. I should have been terrified, but strangely I wasn't. The creature made a sound, not quite a growl, not quite a song. It calmed me. Then it turned and started to move away. It looked back at me, as if it wanted me to follow. Do-hyun returned to his seat. I followed it. The rain had stopped, but the mountain paths were dangerous. The creature led me along safe paths. Whenever I slipped, it was there, its body blocking my fall. By morning, it had led me to a road where search teams found me. "Did you tell anyone what you saw?" Taiwan asked. I tried. No one believed me. They said I was confused from being alone in the storm. Even my grandmother just smiled and said I had a good imagination. So I stopped talking about it. Do-hyun took a sip from a water glass on the table. I almost convinced myself it was a dream. Years passed. I joined the space fleet. I forgot about the creature. Until I saw it again. Again. Taiwan couldn't hide his surprise. Where? During my first space battle. I was a young officer on the UES Daejin. We were fighting pirates near Saturn. My ship was hit badly. I was trapped in a damaged section. The air was leaking out. I knew I would die. Do-hyun's voice was steady, but Taiwan could see a slight tremor in his hands. Then I saw it. The same creature, somehow there in space. Not physical, more like, made of light and energy. It moved through the ship's hull as if it wasn't there. It led me to an escape pod I didn't know existed. I lived when everyone in that section died. He looked directly at Taiwan. After that, it appeared to me before every major battle. It never spoke, but somehow I understood what it wanted me to do. And every time I followed its guidance, I survived. My ship survived. My people survived. Do-hyun opened the metal box he had taken from the safe. Inside was a small device. "This is a personal scanner from my suit during the Battle of Proxima Centauri," he said. "It recorded something that shouldn't exist, something that saved us all." He handed the device to Taiwan. "This is just the beginning of my proof, Professor Kim. Are you ready to see more?" Taiwan looked at the small device in his hand. It was a standard military scanner, the kind all space fleet officers wore during battle. "Commander Park," Taiwan said carefully, "I respect you greatly, but I am a scientist. I need more than just stories." Do-hyun nodded. "I understand. Turn on the device." Taiwan pressed the small button on the side of the scanner. A hologram appeared above it. At first, it showed normal battle data, oxygen levels, radiation readings, and ship positions. Then the image changed. Something large moved across the screen. It was hard to see clearly, like a heat wave in the air. But it had a shape, long and snake-like, with a large head. This could be anything, Taiwan said. A data error, a problem with the scanner. I thought so too, Do-hyun said. Until I found this. He pressed another button on his wrist device. The door to his quarters opened, and a woman walked in. She was tall with short black hair and wore a fleet uniform with communication officer badges. Professor Kim, this is Jae-yun Song, Do-hyun said. She was my communications officer during the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Jae-yun bowed slightly. It's an honor to meet you, Professor. Officer Song has her own evidence, Do-hyun said. Jae-yun pulled out a data pad and placed it on the table. During the battle, I picked up strange signals. At first, I thought they were enemy communications, but they weren't coming from the enemy ships. They seemed to come from empty space. She pressed a button on the pad. A sound played. It was unlike anything Taiwan had ever heard. Part song, part speech, but in no language he knew. Our computers couldn't translate it, Jae-yun said. But somehow Commander Park understood it. He ordered our ships to move to a new position. 3 minutes later, enemy torpedoes hit where we had been. We would all have died. Taiwan frowned. This is interesting, but it doesn't prove anything about mythical creatures. There's more, Do-hyun said. He pulled out a thick folder and placed it on the table. These are classified military reports from the last 50 years. They describe unexplained events during battles. Objects appearing on scanners that couldn't be identified. Strange lights saving damaged ships. Enemies suddenly making mistakes for no reason. Taiwan flipped through the reports. They were official military documents, stamped with high security clearances. In every case, Do-hyun continued, these events happened when human forces were about to be defeated, when we faced destruction. Jae-yun spoke up. I've seen it 3 times now. Not just images on a scanner, but with my own eyes. During the Battle of Proxima Centauri, something large moved between our ships and the enemy. It absorbed energy weapons that should have destroyed us. What are you suggesting? Taiwan asked. That Korean dragons are real, and they help us in space battles. Not just Korean dragons, Do-hyun said. All the protective beings from human myths. They've always been with us, hiding, watching, helping when we most need it. Taiwan stood up and paced the room. This was too much to believe. Yet the evidence was hard to dismiss completely. Why would such beings exist? Why would they help humans? He asked. I don't have all the answers, Do-hyun admitted, but I know what I've seen. And I know that the Battle of Proxima Centauri wasn't won by my tactical genius, as the news report said. He stood up and looked Taiwan in the eyes. It was won because something ancient and powerful chose to help us, and I believe it's time humans knew the truth. Taiwan looked back at the scanner, the data pad, and the classified reports. His scientific mind wanted to reject everything. But something inside him, perhaps the part that had loved myths as a child, wanted to believe. I need more, Taiwan said finally. If what you're saying is true, I need to understand how and why. Do-hyun smiled. That's why we're here. To show you the truth about the Battle of Proxima Centauri. The battle that changed everything. Do-hyun pressed a button on the wall. The lights dimmed, and a large screen appeared in the middle of the room. What I'm about to show you is top secret, he said. If anyone finds out I showed you this, I could be arrested for treason. Taiwan swallowed hard. Are you sure you want to do this? The truth is more important than my freedom, Do-hyun said. He nodded to Jae-yun, who typed a code into her datapad. The screen lit up, showing a video of space. Dozens of human ships faced hundreds of enemy vessels. It was the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Everyone knows the official story, Do-hyun said. Our fleet was outnumbered 5-1. We faced certain defeat. Then I ordered a special formation that confused the enemy and led to our victory. The video showed the human ships moving into a strange pattern. Taiwan had seen this footage before in history classes, but that's not what really happened. Do-hyun continued. Watch the unedited video. Jae-yun pressed another button. The video changed slightly. It was the same battle, but now something else appeared in the space between the fleets. At first, Taiwan thought it was a problem with the video, but then he saw it clearly. Huge shapes, like long snakes or dragons, formed in the empty space. They were semi-transparent, as if made of light and energy rather than flesh. What are those? Taiwan whispered. Watch, Do-hyun said simply. On the screen, the enemy ships fired their weapons. Beams of energy shot toward the human fleet, but the strange shapes moved in front of the beams, absorbing them. The energy weapons that should have destroyed the human ships did nothing. That's impossible, Taiwan said. The door opened again. A man entered, wearing a tactical officer's uniform. Professor Kim, this is Hejun Lee, my tactical officer during the battle, Do-hyun said. Hejun bowed. I saw everything with my own eyes, Professor. What you're seeing is real. On the screen, the shapes grew larger. They began to move toward the enemy ships. The enemy fleet suddenly broke formation, ships flying in all directions as if in panic. The enemy saw them too, Hejun said. They were terrified. Their communications were filled with screaming. They thought we had some kind of secret weapon. Taiwan couldn't believe what he was seeing. The shapes on the screen looked exactly like the dragons from ancient human myths, but they were in space, moving between stars. After the battle, all videos were edited, Do-hyun said. All records were changed. The military said it was to prevent panic. They said humans weren't ready to know the truth. But what is the truth? Taiwan asked. What are these things? Do-hyun turned off the screen. The lights came back on. They are the beings that humans have always known about, he said. The ones we wrote about in our oldest stories. Dragons, gods, spirits. Our ancestors didn't make them up. They saw them, just as we did at Proxima Centauri. Hejun spoke up. I never believed in such things before the battle. I was like you, Professor, a man of science, but I cannot deny what I saw with my own eyes. Jae-yun nodded. The same is true for me. These beings are real, and they protected us when we needed them most. Taiwan sat down heavily. His whole understanding of human history was being challenged. If these beings were real, then everything he knew about human myths was wrong. But why? He asked. Why would such powerful beings help humans? Do-hyun looked at his two officers, then back at Taiwan. That's the most important question, he said. And to answer it, I need to tell you about something even more secret, the ancient covenant between humans and these beings, a promise made thousands of years ago that still protects us today. Taiwan leaned forward in his chair. What is this ancient covenant you're talking about? Before Do-hyun could answer, the door opened again. A woman with gray hair and glasses entered. She carried a large bag. This is my son Yang, Do-hyun said. She's an archaeologist. She's been studying ancient sites on Earth for 30 years. My son nodded to Taiwan. Professor Kim, I've read your work on human myths. Dr. Yang has found something important, Do-hyun said. Something that connects to what we saw at Proxima Centauri. My son opened her bag and took out several photographs. She laid them on the table. They showed cave paintings, stone carvings, and clay tablets from different parts of Earth. These come from different times and places, she said. China, Egypt, Mexico, Norway, South Africa. They span over 5,000 years of human history. But look at this symbol. She pointed to a strange mark on each image. It was the same in all of them, a curved line with 3 small circles above it. This symbol appears in ancient sites all over Earth, my son said, always with pictures of powerful beings helping humans. The oldest one we found is 12,000 years old. Taiwan looked at the symbol, then at Do Hyun's arm. The mark on the commander's arm was the same shape. How did you get that mark? Taiwan asked. It appeared after the battle, Do Hyun said, when one of the beings touched our ship. My son continued. According to my research, this symbol represents a promise, a covenant between humans and these powerful beings. What kind of promise? Taiwan asked. Do Hyun took a deep breath. The beings agreed to protect humans in times of great danger. In return, humans promised something to them. What did we promise? Taiwan asked. That's what we're still trying to understand, my son said. Ancient texts mention rituals, special words, and actions humans performed, but the exact details were lost over time. Hajun spoke up. We think the beings are not gods or magic creatures. They're ancient intelligences. They evolved in our universe long before any current species. They exist in ways we can barely understand. Think about it, Jae-yun added. To primitive humans, these beings would have seemed magical, like gods or monsters. The stories about them became our myths. Taiwan looked at the photos again. If these beings are real, why don't they show themselves openly? They only appear when humans face extinction, Do Hyun said. The Battle of Proxima Centauri wasn't just another fight. If we had lost, the enemy would have destroyed Earth. My son nodded. According to my research, these beings have appeared at key moments throughout human history, during plagues, wars, natural disasters, times when humans might have died out. She pulled out an old book. This text from Korea, written 800 years ago, describes a great dragon saving a village from a tsunami. The writer draws the same symbol we've been discussing. Taiwan felt overwhelmed. If all this was true, human history needed to be completely rewritten. But why help humans specifically? He asked. Why not help other species? Do Hyun and my son exchanged looks. We believe they do, my son said. Other species have their own myths about protective beings. We think each intelligent species might have its own protectors. Which leads us to the most important part, Do Hyun said seriously. The reason we're telling you all this now. He looked at each person in the room before continuing. These beings don't just appear randomly. They come when they're needed, and according to everything we've learned, they're gathering now. All of them. From every species mythology. Taiwan felt a chill run down his spine. What does that mean? He asked. Do Hyun's face was grim. It means something is coming. Something so dangerous that all the protective beings are preparing for it. Something that threatens not just humans, but all life in the galaxy. A heavy silence filled the room. Taiwan looked at each face. Do Hyun, Jae-yun, Hajun, and my son. They all appeared deadly serious. If what you're saying is true, Taiwan said slowly, why keep it secret? Why not tell everyone? Do Hyun sighed. That's a complicated question. The simple answer is fear. Fear of what? Taiwan asked. Fear of panic, Hajun said. Imagine telling people that ancient, powerful beings have been watching us for thousands of years. Many would be scared. Fear of dependency, Jae-yun added. If humans knew these beings would save us in our darkest moments, we might stop trying to save ourselves. My son nodded. And fear of other species' reactions. If aliens learned that humans had special protectors, they might see it as an unfair advantage. Do Hyun stood up and walked to a small cabinet. He pulled out an old wooden box and placed it on the table. There's been a secret group within human governments for centuries, he said. They've known about these beings and have kept the truth hidden. He opened the box. Inside was a small metal pin shaped like the symbol from the ancient sites. This group calls itself the Keepers of the Covenant. They include military leaders, scientists, and historians from around the world. After the Battle of Proxima Centauri, I was asked to join them. Taiwan stared at the pin. So a small group has hidden this truth from humanity for centuries. Yes, Do-hyun said. They believed it was necessary, but now things have changed. The keepers have noticed something new, Jae-yun explained. Other alien species have started talking about their own protective beings. Hajun pointed to a datapad. The Zentari have ancient stories about crystal guardians that saved them from disasters. The Volok's have myths about energy beings that guided their early space travel. These stories are very similar to our own myths. At first, we thought these were just stories, like you did with human myths, my son said to Taiwan. But now we have evidence that they're real too. Do-hyun's face grew more serious. 3 months ago, a Zentari ship was attacked by pirates near their home world. Their fleet was about to be destroyed when something happened. Something very similar to what we saw at Proxima Centauri. He showed Taiwan another video. Giant crystal-like shapes appeared between the Zentari ships and the pirates. They blocked weapons fire and scared away the attackers. The Zentari call them the Crystal Guardians, Jae-yun said, just like in their myths. Taiwan's mind was racing. So every intelligent species has its own protectors, beings that match their ancient myths. Exactly, Do-hyun said. And the keepers of the covenant have decided it's time to break the silence. That's why I'm telling you all this. Why me? Taiwan asked. Because you're respected. People listen to you. And because you've spent your life studying human myths. You can help people understand the truth. Do-hyun looked Taiwan in the eyes. The keepers want you to join us, to help prepare humanity for what's coming. What exactly is coming? Taiwan asked. Do-hyun glanced at the others before answering. We don't know for sure, but the protective beings are gathering. Not just human ones, but those of all species. They're preparing for something. He showed Taiwan a star map. Several areas were marked in red. These are places where our long-range scanners have detected strange energy patterns. The same kind of energy the dragon-like beings at Proxima Centauri gave off. My son pointed to the map. They're gathering at the edge of our galaxy, watching something approaching from deep space. Whatever it is, Hajun said quietly, it must be extremely dangerous if all the protective beings are preparing to fight it. Do-hyun placed a hand on Taiwan's shoulder. We need you, Professor. Humanity needs you. Will you help us? Taiwan sat quietly for a long moment. His entire worldview had been turned upside down in just a few hours. Everything he had taught, everything he had believed about human myths was wrong. I need time to think, he finally said. Do-hyun nodded. I understand, but we don't have much time. A soft beep came from Jae-yun's datapad. She looked at it, and her face turned pale. Commander, we just got an urgent message from the outpost near the Orion Nebula, she said. They've detected something. Big. Do-hyun looked at her sharply. Show us. Jae-yun connected her pad to the wall screen. A video feed appeared showing a space station. A nervous-looking officer was speaking. This is Captain Kang from Outpost 7, the officer said. We've detected an anomaly at the edge of our sensor range. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. The video switched to show a star field. At first, Taiwan saw nothing unusual. Then he noticed it, a dark patch where stars should be. Something was blocking the light from distant stars. Whatever it is, it's massive, Captain Kang continued. Bigger than a planet, and it's moving toward populated space. Has it responded to communications? Do-hyun asked. No, sir. We've tried all frequencies. No response. The feed suddenly became static, then cleared. Captain Kang looked frightened now. Commander Park, something else just appeared. Multiple objects, moving fast. The camera shifted again. Taiwan gasped. Huge shapes of light and energy were visible against the darkness of space. Some looked like dragons. Others resembled giant birds or sea creatures. There were dozens of them. The protective beings, my son whispered. They're gathering. Captain, Do-hyun said urgently, "Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage with any of these entities. Continue monitoring and report any changes." "Yes, sir," Captain Kang replied. "But sir, some of the station crew are saying they can hear voices in their heads, strange words in languages they don't know." Do-hyun and Jae-yun exchanged worried looks. "Send me the full data," Do-hyun ordered, "and prepare to evacuate if necessary." The transmission ended. The room was silent for a moment. "This is what we feared," Ho-jun said quietly. "It's starting." Do-hyun turned to Todwan. "Now do you understand why we need your help? This isn't just about human myths anymore. This is about the survival of all intelligent life." Taiwan felt a chill run down his spine. "What is that dark thing? The one blocking the stars?" "We don't know exactly," my son said. "But based on ancient texts from several species, we believe it might be what the texts call the Devourer." "The what?" Todwan asked. "A being from outside our galaxy," she explained. "The texts say it feeds on consciousness itself, on the minds of intelligent creatures." Jae-yun pulled up more data on her pad. "Our intelligence suggests it has destroyed multiple civilizations in other galaxies. It leaves dead worlds behind. And now it's come here," Ho-jun added, "to our galaxy." Do-hyun stood up straight. "The protective beings, the dragons, the guardians, all of them, they're our first line of defense. But they can't fight alone." "What can we do?" Todwan asked. "If this thing is as powerful as you say, how can anyone fight it?" "The ancient texts mention a way," my son said. "They speak of a combined force, the protective beings working together with their respective species. But for that to happen, people need to believe. They need to remember the old ways, the old words." Do-hyun looked at Taiwan intently. "That's why we need you. You know more about human myths than almost anyone. If there are clues in our ancient stories about how to work with our protectors, you can help find them." Taiwan thought about his comfortable life at the academy, about his lectures on primitive human beliefs, about how wrong he had been. "When do we start?" he asked. Relief showed on Do-hyun's face. "Now. Right now." He handed Taiwan a small communicator. "The Keepers are gathering all the experts they can find. We're meeting on Earth, at a secret location. I'll need access to ancient texts," Taiwan said. "From all cultures. You'll have everything you need," Do-hyun promised. "Our ship leaves in 1 hour." 3 weeks had passed since Taiwan learned the truth about human myths. He now stood in a large underground room beneath an ancient temple in Korea. The walls were covered with old symbols, the same symbol he had seen in my son's photographs and on Do-hyun's arm. Around him stood representatives from 20 different alien species. Each had come after learning about their own protective beings. Each had brought their ancient texts and knowledge. "Professor Kim, are you ready?" Do-hyun asked. Taiwan nodded. "I think so." He looked down at his notes. After studying day and night, comparing myths from Earth and other planets, he had found something important. A pattern, a ritual, words that appeared in slightly different forms across cultures. "The ancient texts all say the same thing," Taiwan said to the gathered beings. "In times of great danger, the protectors will come. But they need our help to fight. They need us to remember." He turned to a large table where objects from different worlds were placed. A Korean drum, a crystal from the Zentari homeworld, a shell from the Volok seas, and many others. "Each culture has its own way to call to its protectors," Taiwan explained. "But the basic idea is the same. We must remind them of the ancient promise, the covenant between our kinds." My son stepped forward. "We've prepared as the texts instructed. Each representative will perform their own ritual. Together, we hope to strengthen the protective beings for the coming battle." Outside, above the temple, the sky had turned strange. Reports came in from across the planet of unusual lights in the heavens. The devourer was still far away, but its influence was already being felt. Taiwan took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, he would have laughed at what they were about to do. Now, he knew better. "Let us begin," he said. One by one, representatives from each species performed their rituals. The Zentari representative held up a crystal and spoke words in a musical language. The Volaks blew into a spiral shell, making a haunting sound. Each ritual was different, yet somehow the same. When it was Earth's turn, Taiwan, Do-hyun, Jae-yun, Hejun, and my son gathered around the Korean drum. According to our oldest texts, Taiwan said, "This rhythm will call to our protectors. It will remind them of our covenant." My son began to beat the drum in a slow pattern. The others joined in with ancient words, a chant that had been pieced together from texts around the world. As they continued, Taiwan felt something change in the air. A heaviness, a presence. The hair on his arms stood up. Suddenly, one wall of the underground room seemed to disappear. Through it, Taiwan could see stars, as if they were in space, not underground. And among the stars, something moved. A long snake-like body, a head with whiskers, eyes that glowed green. The Imuji, the Korean dragon. It was here, watching them. Other beings appeared beside it, creatures from other worlds' myths. They seemed to be waiting, listening. Do-hyun stepped forward. The mark on his arm was glowing. "We remember our promise," he said to the watching beings. "We will fight alongside you." The Imugi's eyes seemed to look directly at Taiwan. He felt a strange sensation, as if words were forming in his mind. "We have always been here," the voice seemed to say, "waiting for you to remember." Taiwan had spent his life teaching that human myths were just stories. Now he stood before the truth, and it was more amazing than any story could be. The wall became solid again. The vision of space and stars disappeared. But Taiwan knew the protective beings were still there, invisible but present. "Did it work?" someone asked. Before anyone could answer, Jae-yun's communicator beeped. She listened, then looked up with wide eyes. "The devourer has changed course," she said. "It's moving more slowly. And the protective beings, they're attacking it." A cheer went up from the gathered representatives. Do-hyun turned to Taiwan with a smile. "It's just the beginning of a long battle. But for the first time, I think we have a chance." Taiwan nodded. He had a lot of work to do. His lectures would need complete rewriting. Human history would need to be reconsidered. And he had a feeling his book on human myths was about to become the most popular text in the galaxy. Human myths weren't a joke after all. They were the memory of an ancient promise, a promise that might just save them all.